Thank you very much. Wow. Oh, and you know, I love Milwaukee. I was the one that picked Milwaukee, I have to tell you. I was the one that picked it. These lying people that they say, oh, he doesn't like Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee. I said, you got to fix the crime. We all know that. You got to make sure the election's honest. But I'm the one that picked Milwaukee, and the Democrats, or the radical left lunatics, as I call them, what they say is just so terrible. They lie, lie, lie. They have a horrible candidate. They have a candidate that has no clue, doesn't know where he is, and all they can do is lie. I love it. I'm the one that picked Milwaukee officially. So, and you had, and I think you had about 10 congressmen in a meeting that we had recently where I said how much I like Milwaukee. They all came out. They said, that's what he said. We can't help it. And they're truthful people. But I just want to begin by saying, hello, Wisconsin. Hello. Great state. We've had great success here. It's great to be back in this beautiful state with thousands and thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. What a crowd. What a crowd. With your help, 5 months from now, we're going to win Wisconsin. We're going to defeat your radical left Democrat senator, one of the worst in the Senate. Nobody even knows she's a senator. I mean, frankly, she's not doing a good job representing. We have somebody that's going to be great. So, but we're going to defeat your Senator Tammy Baldwin. We're going to elect Eric Hovde of this area, by the way, who's a great gentleman, and spent a lot of time with him. He and his wife are incredible people. He's going to be a great representative. They're going to be great representatives of your state. But we're going to elect him to the U.S. Senate. We're going to evict weak, failed, and incompetent Joe Biden. He's an incompetent person from the White House. And quite simply, we are going to make America great again. Less than 4 years ago, our border was secure, inflation was nowhere to be seen, the world was at peace, and America was strong and respected. We were respected all over the world. None of this stuff would have been happening that's happened now with Russia and Ukraine and the attack on Israel. None of it would have been happening. We would have had and we wouldn't have had a thing called inflation. That would have been nice too. But it was a different place 4 years ago, I think. But now we're going to make it better and bigger and stronger than ever before. But you had a president who put America first. I put America first. They put America last. Under crooked Joe Biden, the world is in flames. Our border is overrun. Inflation is raging. Europe is in total chaos. The Middle East is exploding. Iran is emboldened. China is on the march. And the worst, most incompetent, most corrupt president in history is going to drag us into World War III. Other than that, he's doing quite a good job, don't you think? Quite good. Joe Biden is humiliating our country on the world stage. He's actually humiliating us. You saw what happened this weekend. It's turning the United States into a total joke all over the world. First, he wandered off the G7 in Europe, the stage. He looked like he didn't know where the hell he was, but he didn't know where he was. He's blaming it now on AI. He's saying he doesn't know what AI is, but that's okay. Now they're saying the media is manipulating. Oh, he's saying the media is manipulating. Now, on that one, I have to stick up for the media, I have to tell you. He said the media is manipulating the pictures of him constantly not knowing where the hell he is. They're doing just the opposite. They're making him look better. At the G7 in Europe, and he had to be rescued by other world leaders. They had to pull him back. Then he bizarrely put his face on the Pope's forehead. What was that all about? That was weird. Vivek is here. That was weird, Vivek. I don't know. Did you see the Pope? The Pope is like, what's happening? The Pope didn't really know what was happening. He said, this is strange. Then he froze during the celebration on the White House lawn. Then St. Obama had to grab him off the stage as though he were a child. I have to tell you, Obama could have handled that differently. He could have done it a little bit softer. He could have done it like, let's go, come. He didn't have to grab him and pull him off the stage, but you know. But he looked good, and I guess that was his primary purpose. He could have done a better job. In fact, the Biden people were very upset about that whole incident, but you know, yet to be discussed. But Crooked Joe and his handlers are insisting he's sharper than ever, and they say the videos of Crooked Joe shuffling around are clean fakes. You know what a clean fake is? They're deceptively edited. They say they're deceptively edited. All of the mistakes that he's made every day. He can't go anywhere without a mistake. Now, if I'm perfect, they say he made a mistake. He did perfect. And I don't say clean fakes, although they do. They do that. They do that. They're the fake news. Look how many you have out there. They're all over the place. But with me, they take a good speech and they make it look as bad as possible. With him, they take the worst speech you've ever heard and they try and make him look like semi-normal. These are shameless liars who are trying to deceive you about other people, the people that represent Biden. They're shameless liars. They're the Russia, Russia, Russia people, the laptop from hell people, the 51 intelligence agent people. They're the people that said all sorts of lies about military, about our great military. They make up stories about our military. It's disgraceful what they can do, and they're so destructive to our country. They're the people that really destroy everything that they touch. That's why this November the people of Wisconsin are going to tell Crooked Joe Biden, remember The Apprentice, you're fired. Get out. You've done a horrible job. You've done a horrible, horrible job. Worst president in history. Get out. You're fired. Get out. We can't get him out fast enough. I'm worried about the next 5 months. We could end up in World War III with this person. He's the worst president ever. The Biden administration has been nonstop catastrophe. He has been a catastrophe. It's been a nonstop catastrophe, but one of Crooked Joe's most destructive moves yet is the lawless executive action he is taking today. You've been reading, in the middle of the largest border invasion in world history. There's never been a border in the world that's like this border that we have, where probably 17, 18 million people by now have entered our country illegally. Joe Biden's granting mass, he's going to formally grant a mass amnesty to millions of illegal aliens that came into our country. And you have people that have been working for 10 years to try and come in legally, and they just keep working. Under this program, a deluge of illegals will be given immediate green cards and put on the fast track to rapid citizenship so they can vote. I think a lot of them are going to vote for me. You want to know the truth? Because if you look at the Hispanic population, if you look at the black population, they're voting for Trump. They're voting for Trump. You, look at you. Thank you. I like that person right there. But they give them they give them welfare, they give them free health care, food stamps. Chain migration, one of the catastrophic things, one of the many catastrophic things that we're confronted with when they come in. Crooked Joe is sending a message to the world that he rewards illegal entry, and that's what's happening. They hear about all of the things that are coming in, and don't kid yourself, the ones that are hurt the most, the black population, the Hispanic population, and you know what else? Who else is hurt badly? Unions. Because unions are not able to compete with this. This is a mass entry into our country, and the unions are getting absolutely killed by it. All an illegal alien has to do is sign up for his new program. It's a sham marriage or college degree. Think of this. And they can expect amnesty and taxpayer support. They want to get taxpayer support. We are supporting people that come in illegally, but our soldiers, our veterans, are dying on the streets of these horribly run Democrat cities. Our country is under invasion. We should not be talking amnesty. We should be talking about stopping the invasion instead. This is an invasion of our country. We have to seal the border. We have to let people come into our country, but they have to come in legally. We have to send Joe Biden's illegal aliens back home where they belong. We have no choice. We have no choice. Don't forget, all over the world, the prisons, the jails, the mental institutions, the insane asylums, they're all being emptied out. And I don't blame them. I know the leaders. I know so many of the leaders. I had to deal with them. I dealt with them very nicely. I said, you don't behave, we're not going to give you any of the money. We pay them so much money and they do nothing. Gets stolen all over the place. But I had a lot of things. We wanted to bring them back. They wouldn't let them come back. I was told that for years Obama couldn't get anybody out. We suffered with MS-13 by the thousands and thousands that killed people, that cut up. 2 young girls cut up in Long Island, cut up to pieces and died by MS-13 monsters, and we couldn't get them out of our country. And I came back and I said, why? They said they won't take them back. Honduras, you take a look at Honduras, and any one of the Mexico to a certain extent, Mexico a little bit less, but we have countries all over South America, countries all over the world that wouldn't take them back. But in the case of the 4 countries, I said, here's what we do. El Salvador is an example, very tough, smart, good leader. But I would have been more advanced than him. I would have had the jails completely empty instead of almost empty. You know, if you take a look at Venezuela, you see what's happening there. 72% down in crime because they've taken their gangs, their drug dealers, also their prisoners. And where have they brought them? To the United States of America. Thank you very much. No. Who can believe that they allow this to happen to our country?
Stand up back! 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 Stand up back!
Now, who can believe that they would do this to our country? Now, Joe Biden doesn't have a clue. Now, we're going to watch. Is anybody going to watch the debate? He's going to be so pumped up. He's going to be pumped up. You know all that stuff that was missing about a month ago from the White House? What happened? Who left it? Somebody left it there. I wonder, let's see, somebody left a laptop in an office of a gentleman who was supposed to fix the laptop from hell. He never picked it up, and somebody didn't pick up hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cocaine. I wonder who that could have been. I don't know. Actually, I think it was Joe. You're one of those. But Crooked Joe's action today is an illegal, unconstitutional amnesty without approval from Congress, no approval from the courts or the American people, but he never does that. He did that with the tuition, and that didn't work out too well. He got rebuked, and then he did it again. It's going to get rebuked again, even more so. It's an even more vile attack. But he did that with tuition just to get the publicity for the election. He doesn't care about that. He just wants to see if he can get it by the election. Like with all my stuff, they get these people from all over, go after Trump. They never did this before. This is like third world country stuff. Go after Trump. But he did nothing wrong. That doesn't matter. Just go after him. Go after him. And we don't care what happens after the election. Just do it. Mess it up. No country has ever done this outside of a few third world horrible banana republics, very rarely done. This Biden amnesty is a direct attack on American democracy, and yet another example is how Biden and his communists are demolishing our constitutional system and replacing it with a corrupt and fascist regime. These are fascists. These are bad people. And I don't think he's calling the shots. I'll be honest. I think he's not. I'm talking to you like a small little gathering of, 20,000 people. But I don't think he's calling the shots. I really don't. I almost sound when I talk about, Alphonse Capone was indicted less than Trump. I never heard the word indictment, and then all of a sudden, that's coming from all different angles at me, all caused by Biden and his thugs. But it's not going to happen. It's interesting because we're doing better now than we've ever done because people know it's a scam. It's a big scam. And the Biden betrayal is not going to stand. When I'm reelected, Joe Biden's illegal amnesty plan will be ripped up and thrown out on the very first day that we're back in office. Because he's just using that group. But he's going to let everybody come in because you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to sign these people up and register them. They're not citizens. They're not allowed to do it. It's illegal as hell. We're filing court cases all over the place, including here, but we're filing court. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to use all of these people that are pouring into our country to vote. What other reason? Look, it's either they're stupid, they're not stupid. He is, but they're not stupid. The people that surround him, his leaders, his leaders aren't stupid. You can't cheat that well at an election and be stupid, okay? But, so you say they're either stupid or they hate our country, or the third thing is they want to sign people up to vote. And that's what they're doing right now. They're signing people up to vote. The people don't even know where they are. And they're getting them cards to vote. They're trying to register them to vote. And we're in courts all over the place, and we're going to get it stopped, and we're not going to let what they did 4 years ago happen again. Our country is being destroyed. Joe Biden wants to be the president for illegal aliens, but I will be the president for law-abiding Americans, every background, every walk of life, every race, religion, color, and creed. I'll be the president. Thank you very much. Crooked Joe's mass amnesty comes in the wake of a series of horrific murders by, I call them the Biden illegals. They come in here so illegally. They just walk across, not vetted, not checked. All over the world they're coming from. The Congo and Africa, 22 people coming out of jails recently. And where are you from? The Congo. Where did you live? In a jail. What did you do? We don't want to say. But they come from Africa, from Asia. They come from the Middle East. They come from South America, but they come from all over the world. And they're really in many cases, very, very bad people. The only good thing is they make our gang members look like nice people by comparison. You know the good thing about Biden's administration, right? He makes Jimmy Carter look like a genius by comparison. Jimmy Carter's administration looked brilliant by comparison. In all fairness, he wasn't doing things like this. He wasn't allowing 17, 18 million people to walk into our country unchecked, unvetted. We have no idea who the hell they are. Day after day, week after week, more Americans are raped, kidnapped, and brutally killed at the hands of criminals. And Joe Biden released them into our country. He released them all. We had, by the way, 4 years ago, I wish they could put it up on the screen, we had the strongest border in the history of our country. Now we have the weakest border in the history of the world. In the history of the world. Oh, there it is. Take a look. That cost a little money to bring that sucker up here. You know, that's... But take a look at that. You see the red arrow on the bottom? That was the week I left office. What a sad day that was for the country. But that was the week I left office. See the red arrow on the bottom? That's the only one you have to even look at. That was the last week in office for Trump. Look at the number. That was the lowest number in the history of our country of illegals coming in. But you can also add drugs and other things, okay? But look at that number. And that was done by Border Patrol. Look at that number. And then look what happens as soon as I leave. Look at the numbers on the right. That's the largest influx of people ever to come to any country. There's never been anything like this. And we don't know where they come from, who they are. We don't have any records. There's no way to check it. You know, they come from some country that nobody ever heard of. They don't keep records, and we don't get their records, and we don't know what we're taking in. But you know one thing. You remember the snake. It's not going to be good, right? It's not going to be good. When you let in a snake, when you let in people that come out of prisons for murder, it's not going to end well. We're going to have a lot of problems, and we're going to get them out. We're going to get them out as fast as we can. We're going to have the largest deportation. We have no choice. Just last week, another Biden migrant was arrested for the savage murder of an innocent American woman. You probably all read about it. In Maryland, Rachel Morin, 37 years old, mother of 5, beautiful woman, nice woman. Everyone believed that this animal was responsible for Rachel's killing, first murdered another young woman in El Salvador, went to came from El Salvador, murdered a woman, at least one, then fled across this Joe Biden open border. Just come on in, everybody. We won't even check your name. And came into the United States, after which he savagely attacked a 9-year-old girl and her mother in a home invasion in Los Angeles in an area that was supposed to be safe. And finally, he's charged with raping and murdering Rachel when she was out for a run. She was running, wanted to keep herself in shape before dumping her body into a drainage ditch. That's how they found her, into a drainage ditch. This monster should never have been allowed into our country. And if I was president, he would never have been able to come in. He would have never been able to come in. You see those numbers. Thank you very much. Just like the killer, and you've read about this too, Laken Riley, beautiful Laken Riley, would have never been in our country. Laken was the topper of her class. She wanted to be a nurse. She was the top student, the top everything. She was admired by everybody that knew her. And she was murdered by the same kind of a person that came in here under Biden's there is no policy. They just come in. They just came in. And, you know, I listened to Tom Homan the other day. Tom Homan's great, real pro. He said there's never been an administration so good on the border and so good generally, but he's a border guy. He's a pure, powerful border guy. He said there's never been an administration like Trump. It's the greatest border, the safest border we've ever had. All these murders that are taking place and all the murders that will take place, you're just seeing the beginning. They're just getting comfortable, you know? They're here for a little while. They're not going to start up. They want to find out. They're just getting comfortable. Now they're having fistfights with cops in the middle of the street. Think of that. In the middle of New York City, they have a guy fist fighting with a cop. I've seen cops shot. I've seen a lot of things. But a fist fight, that's really like crazy. And they're duking it out in the middle of a street. And if that happened to him in his country, they would have had him killed immediately. He would have been killed immediately. But here we're very nice. We're politically correct. Also recently in New York, an illegal alien with mutual and multiple prior arrests approached two 13-year-old children with a machete in broad daylight, forced them into the woods, tied them together by the wrists, and raped the girl at a park in Queens. I grew up in Queens. When I'm reelected, we will begin removing these criminals, these horrible people from our midst, and we'll end up doing it immediately. We're going to do it immediately. We don't really, it's not like we have a choice, right? Do we have a choice? We're not going to live like this. You know that area in Queens, I said, that's where I grew up. I grew up right near that area. It was unthinkable. My parents, I'd go to the park. It was like 20 blocks away. I'd take a bicycle right there. Nobody thought anything was going to happen. I did that for years. Played baseball and different things in the park. And you'd ride and you'd come back home. Mother would say, hi, darling, would you like something to eat? Today, if you let your kid out of the house for 5 minutes, the kid is gone. You never see it's horrible what's going on. We're not living the proper life. This is not appropriate what's happening. Our country is so badly run. And by the way, you know, Kenosha, I saved Kenosha. Do you know that? When I was president, right? I saved it. Kenosha was about ready to go down the tubes, and the governor wouldn't move. He just wouldn't move, and I moved. I'm not supposed to. It's supposed to be the governor supposed to do it, the mayor and the governor. But we did a great job, and we saved a lot of different places, and some here. We saved a lot of places. Joe Biden's amnesty is also a cold-blooded betrayal of American seniors. By the way, did you see Nancy Pelosi? Her daughter did a documentary, Crazy Nancy. No, this happened just a couple of days. They found the documentary. Her daughter, who's a, quote, documentary maker, has a documentary where Nancy Pelosi is saying it's my fault, meaning her fault, not my fault, her fault, that she takes full responsibility for what's happening. That's as the event is happening. You know why? Because she was being honest for the first couple of hours, and I offered them 10,000 soldiers because I knew the crowd was going to be big. But I offered them 10,000 soldiers, and she turned it down. She said, oh, I don't like the look. She turned it down. And the mayor of Washington, D.C., which we're going to redevelop and make beautiful again, because right now it's a crime-ridden capital. But they turned it down. They turned down the stuff. And now the J6 committee, I call it the unselect committee. They're unselect. They're the most unselect. We should have people like you. We should have put Vivek in the committee, right? And our congressman in the committee, right? But the unselect committee of political thugs, the evidence was so bad and so compelling against the Democrats and against the people that are supposed to be doing that job that they destroyed and deleted all of the, everything is deleted. Remember, they said I attacked Secret Service agents while I was in the back of a car. And I have friends that say, don't change that story. Man, you sound tough as hell. That's good. You know, these guys are like 30 years old. One is a weightlifter. The other one's a karate top guy or something. I went for the one who was rebuffed, but my hands wrapped around the other one's neck. I would have been in trouble if I did that, I think. But what happened is when Secret Service went in, they totally told the proper story, which was nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. Then she supposedly changed her, so something went on there. But that's just one of many things. The Pelosi thing is something that was now is totally on the record, and they've deleted and destroyed all of the records. And they are really disgraceful people. Remember, I said peacefully and patriotically, right? Peacefully. They didn't have that in my speech. They put my speech up, but they took phrases out like peacefully and patriotically. And these are very dishonest people. You know, I say we have problems from the outside and problems from within, and I really believe that you have a smart president. I had no problem with China. I had no problem with Russia. I stopped Russia. Russia would have never gone into Ukraine. I stopped their pipeline going into Germany, which Biden immediately approved. The first week that he was there, he approved it. And Putin actually said, you know, they say that you and I are friends. I'd hate to see you as an enemy. You stopped my pipeline. It was stopped. Going to Germany, going all over Europe, and Biden immediately approved it. But he killed our pipeline, the Keystone. He stopped our pipeline, the Keystone XL, 48,000 jobs. He stopped our pipeline. Biden and his party are hell-bent on a single Biden migrant who has violated our borders, dumping millions of people onto Medicare and Social Security and even Obamacare. By the way, all of these people going on to Social Security, Medicare, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to be able, it's not sustainable. They're going to ruin your Social Security. This guy's killing your Social Security. Biden and the Democrats are wheeling Granny off the cliff to give benefits to illegal aliens. They're giving the benefits to the illegals. And you know, a stat that came out the other day is that almost all of the new jobs in this country are going to illegals. They're not going to our people. They're going to illegals. And that's why the black population, Hispanic population, is voting for me at levels that nobody's ever seen before in this country. Because they're not getting the jobs. In fact, they're losing their jobs. As president, I will fight for American seniors like nobody has ever fought before, and we will not be fighting for the Biden illegals, as I call them. I will fight for American workers, not for human traffickers. I will fight for the American dreamers, not the child smugglers and woman smugglers. And I will restore the sovereign borders of the United States of America. So help me God. Thank you very much. Thank you. You know, they actually have the best location. People think it's, no, people think it's them, but it's not, because nobody sees you on camera. They're on camera for an hour and a half, depending on. And in numerous cases, perhaps, they become Hollywood stars. You know, they'll say, who's that person with great star appeal behind Trump? Say, let's see. Got a few of them. You never know. Hey, you never know. What is a star, after all? What is a star? I will also take immediate action to save our economy. Our economy is doing terribly. Inflation has killed our economy. It's a nation buster. On the last day in office, inflation was at less than 1.4%, and as you know, it's now 10. Look, if you take a look at our inflation, our real inflation, they said it was 10 for the last couple of years cumulatively. You take a look at inflation, and if you add different categories, which they don't, I think our inflation is between 40 and 50%. They say it's at 22%. 22% is a lot. That's record-setting. But I think you could double it. Let them add the cost of interest. Let them add the cost of trying to buy a house. Nobody can buy a house anymore. The American dream is dead. The money they can't get, the interest rates through the roof. During my term, we had gasoline down to $1.87 a gallon. And by the end, the 30-year mortgage rate was 2.7%. Think of that, and now it's 10%, 11%, 12%, and you can't get the money, so it doesn't make any difference. They can tell you what the rate is, but you can't get the money. Joe Biden inherited the fastest and strongest economic recovery in history. I gave him the greatest economic recovery in history. It's called bounce back. We were all set. We were set. I hated. We had the greatest economy ever in the history of the world. COVID came in, and we did an unbelievable job. And by the time we ended, we gave him the greatest bounce back that anybody's ever had. And guess what? He blew it to shreds. And that's where we are right now. Biden's inflation, price hikes, and energy destruction have cost the average American family an astonishing $28,000. Think of that, $28,000. And on day one of my new administration, we will throw out Bidenomics and replace it with Maganomics. Maganomics. And it was just announced, you probably heard it, just came as I'm walking up, I say, let me say that. I'm walking up here. It was just announced that the budget deficit is now expected to be almost $2 trillion in 2024. Think of it, $2 trillion. Let's see, 2024, that might not be so good because I take over. They're going to say I have a $2 trillion deficit. I say I didn't do anything. But we'll get it down. $400 billion more than estimated just a few months ago because he's throwing money out the window on the Green New scam and other things, because this student loan program, which is not even legal. I mean, it's not even legal. And the students aren't buying it, by the way. His polls are down. I'm leading in young people by numbers that nobody's ever seen before. And remember, with Trump, no tax on tips. So for all of you people, a couple of people that get tips, right? Tips? No tax on tips. That's right. No, I think it's good. You know, you work, and they come out and they harass you. They really harass you. A lot of people have told me that. He's just passed new regulations that make it very, very hard on people that earn tips really for a living. For the most part, they live on tips. I will stop Biden's wasteful spending and rapidly terminate the Green New scam, which is a total scam. We're spending money like drunken sailors. You know the expression, drunken sailors? They love that expression. I will end the Biden inflation nightmare, and we will end it quickly. And I will repeal crooked Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate. And we will drill, baby, drill. We will drill, baby, drill. Right? Thank you. Thank you. Energy costs will come down very quickly. In many cases, we'll be cutting your energy costs in half, and we're going to be doing it very fast. I will also stop inflation by stopping the invasion, rapidly reducing housing costs. You know, they're taking over our hotels. Think of it. You have people that come in illegally that don't speak the language. We don't even know the country. These are countries where we have nobody in our country that even understands the language. And they're living in luxury hotels in many cases. And as I said, as our wonderful warriors they're wounded and literally wounded from play, but they're wounded. Of San Francisco and Los Angeles and New York and Chicago and Oakland and all over the place. And you have other people living in luxury hotels. You tell me, is this country screwed up or what? Is this country? We will cut every unnecessary Biden regulation. You know, I cut regulations more than any president in history. That's how we got all the jobs. And I cut your taxes, the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And we will make the Trump tax cuts permanent and reduce taxes even more for working families and small businesses. They want to let the Trump tax cuts expire. If you do that, you will pay 4 times the amount of tax that you're paying right now. Somehow, you know, all my life I've watched politicians, and they've always said, I'm going to reduce your taxes. This is the only group I've ever seen, we're going to raise your taxes by 4 times. Oh, let's vote for them. There's something crazy going on. There's something crazy in the water. But, you know, I produce the cleanest water and the cleanest air. That's what I want. I want clean water, clean, crystal clean air. Unlike me, Joe Biden isn't fighting for the working people. He's fighting for all of the corrupt interests that get rich off the suffering of the middle class. And he's fighting for China. And he's fighting for lots of other countries. He puts America last. Crooked Joe backed NAFTA, China's entry into the World Trade Organization, and the horrible Trans-Pacific Partnership, and also the ripoff called the Paris Climate Accord. It sounds so nice. Except we were paying the whole, wasn't paying, Russia wasn't paying, India wasn't paying $1 trillion for the Paris Climate Accord. Sounds so nice. I said, you know, when I terminate this deal, I'm going to get killed on this one. I terminated it. Everybody thanked me. It was like, because they all know the people are really smart. They get it. They get it. What we are doing for other countries, and we're destroying ourselves, and we owe $35 trillion. You know, it's not like, gee, we have nothing but cash. He sent our blood and treasure to back regime change in Iraq, regime change in Libya, regime change in Syria, and every other globalist disaster for half a century. It's been going on the same. I took our soldiers out. You know, I'm the only president that didn't start a war. I'm the only president. I finished the war. I finished it. I finished the war with ISIS, the ISIS caliphate. I finished it. But I didn't start a war. I got our soldiers out of Syria. I read this morning that, oh, gee, it was a shame. We had 5,000 soldiers on the border, Syria and Turkey, right on the border. So you have Syria, Turkey, and in the middle we have 5,000. In between, a 250,000 person army and 150,000. I went to a general. I say, how do our 5,000 soldiers do in that case? You got 2 warring nations. And they say, not good, sir. I say, I think it's time to get them out, right? I got them out. Then we had 54 soldiers. And I said, this one I don't have to ask a general. Get them the hell out of there. You know what? Essentially, nothing happened. They've had that border for 2,000 years, different names. But they've had that border for 2,000 years. They've been fighting for 2,000 years. Why do we have soldiers here? I took them out. And we didn't have people killed. We had nobody killed. And they still fight over the border a little bit, but not much. It's, you know, they fight for a little while, then they stop. This goes on for thousands of years. No, you know, we are now, we call ourselves, because, you know, I'm conservative. What difference? I'm the party of common sense. We're the party of common sense. It's not a conservative thing. It's not a liberal thing or a Democrat or Republican thing. After years of Crooked Joe building up foreign nations under my leadership, we will once again build up our nation, if that's okay. Let's build up our nation. I think it's time, right? It looks like a good soldier there. I will revoke China's most favored nation's trade status. They have a most favored nation. They're favored. I said, why do you have that presidency? Well, we are a developing nation. You got nothing but cash. You're killing us. We paid them $500 billion a year. They built their military because of stupid people. And one thing, you know, somebody said it, you don't even think about it. I read it 2 nights ago. Donald Trump was the one that brought up China and the tremendous threat that China is and the amount of money that China takes out of our country every year. You never heard that until I came along. And, you know, it's one thing to talk about it, but I did talk about it. But I was doing something. We took out hundreds of billions of dollars out of China. Not one president took out 10 cents. In fact, Biden wants to revoke the tariffs, but he can't because it's so much money. He can't do it. He just can't do it. I also will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. That's if China or any other country makes us pay 100 or 200% tariff or tax, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff or tax of 100 or 200% right back. We don't do that. We have countries, and it's not only China, it's many countries. We have countries that charge us tremendous taxes and tariffs, and we don't charge them anything. And I was changing that and got a lot of it changed with South Korea, with Japan, made a new deal with Japan. Oh, Japan was really, you know, Prime Minister Abe, he was great, of Japan. He was assassinated. He was a great friend of mine. He was a great gentleman. He loved his people. He loved his country. I went to him. I said, you know, the trade deal between Japan and the United States is the most unfair thing I think I've ever seen. They sell cars to us. We can't sell cars to them. They sell food to us. We can't sell food to them. And it's that way with the European Union, too. And I said to Abe, I love that guy. He was great. He was going to run again. He was getting well, and he was going to run again. Very popular guy. He would have won easily. But I said, we can't do this. He said, I was waiting for you to ask. He said, nobody's ever asked. Nobody from your country has ever asked, you know? He said, I'm shocked it took you so long. And I renegotiated it. I mean, I liked him so much. I could have made probably a tougher deal, but we made a tough deal. I liked him. He was a great guy, and we renegotiated that deal. We renegotiated a lot of deals. One of the best deals I made was with China, but because of COVID, I don't even talk about that deal. China had to buy $50 billion worth of our product, our agricultural product mostly. And, you know, it's interesting, during the negotiation, I said, what are we asking for? $15 million, 15. So I thought they meant 50, right? I heard it as 50. So when they came to me, they said, we have the deal done with China. It's $15 million. I said, what do you mean 15? It's 50, you told me. They said, no, it's 15. I said, go back and ask for 50. And we got it. Can you believe it? We got it. I thought they said 50. But the Reciprocal Trade Act is basically a terrible expression, but it's, you know, as accurate as I could make it. You know, I have a man I have a lot of respect for. He said, please, you speak so beautifully. Don't hurt your speech by using foul language. But sometimes foul language is a little bit necessary. More necessary here than on television, I have to say. On television, it doesn't sound good. Although it sounds okay, actually, but it doesn't sound good. Here, you don't make your point. But I don't think this is too bad, because reciprocal trade, that's you screw us, we screw you. And then what happens, you charge us 100%, we charge you. I don't know how else I can say it so briefly, right? That's about as good as we can do. There's just no word that can cover that. So, and you know who that was? Does anybody know? You know who that was that told me? A great man, actually. Franklin Graham, you're right. It was Franklin Graham. He wrote me a beautiful letter, and he said, your speech was so good, and I loved it and everything else, but you don't have to use foul language. And I very rarely do. And it's not really, it's just, you know, like little words, like that word that starts with a B and ends with a T, right? It's just such a descriptive word. I don't know how you replace some of these words. But I think of him when I'm about to do, and usually last speech, I said, I'm going to behave, and I did. I totally behaved. This one, I did use those two words, the same word twice. Biden would say I used 3 words 4 times, you know? Remember that? He'd have 4 words, and he'd say, in the famous words, those 2 words, and then he'd issue 4 words. This guy, this is what we have negotiating. This is what we have negotiating with Putin, with President Xi of China, with Kim Jong-un, who's loaded up with nuclear weapons. This is what we have negotiating. You know, when France came out and wanted to tax our nation, I told them you can't do it, and if you do it, you're going to pay 100% tax on all of your wine and all of your champagne that you send in. And all my people said you couldn't do it, you'll never be able to change it. They're going to tax our companies 25%. And I said, we're going to do it. And I did that, and it was a miracle. They said, Macron, you know Macron. Good man. He loves France. He doesn't love us. He loves France, right? And I said, no, no, no. You have to pay. We're going to charge you 100% unless that disappears. Everybody told me it couldn't be done. My own people told me it couldn't be done. And I said, nope, 100% starting on Monday. This was Friday. And he called me back 5 minutes later. He said, we would be delighted to drop that tax. We would be delighted to drop that 25% tax on your companies, Vivek. But if I gave it to Vivek to do, I think he'd pull it off, right? You know. He'd pull it off. It's no wonder Joe Biden and his thugs are so desperate to stop us. They know that we are the only ones who can stop them, and they know that. All of their persecutions and prosecutions is happening because I'm running for president and leading very big in the polls, including in this great state. Now, do you remember in 2016 we won, and then we did much better here in 2020, but they, you know, lots of things happened. And then in the end we won, but they, you know, by that time it was a little late. But in 2016 we won. And I got a poll from ABC Washington Post, Washington Post is down 50% in readers, which is a good thing because people don't like fake news. And ABC, you know, they have George Stopalopoulos. I call him Slopadopoulos. George Stopalopoulos. I said, George, I've had you up to here. You got to start telling the truth. You got to start telling the truth. They're doing one of the debates, I understand. See, I agreed to this stuff. You know, I agreed to the debates. They came up to me. And they said, we're going to do a debate. We'd like to challenge you to a debate. But they didn't want me to accept, so they gave me something that I couldn't accept. CNN, fake tapper, right? Fake tapper. Sit down at tables, no audience. I don't know, this thing sounds pretty unacceptable. No audience. I said, well, I think we should at least stand up. Don't you think it would be respectful? But I said, we'll do it. They didn't think I was going to do it. They thought I would say, no, I don't want to do it because CNN is so, you know, it's fake news. But I think maybe they'll be honest. I think fake tapper would really help himself if we're honest. But you'll see immediately if it is or not. I'll probably be, Dana Bash is the other. I'll probably be negotiating with 3 people, but that's okay. I've done that before. I'll be debating 3 people instead of one half of a person. The outrageous charges in New York were a corrupt creation of crooked Joe Biden and his group, and they really weaponized. What they did is they weaponized the Department of Justice. They weaponized all the White House. What they did is disgraceful. It was all planned and carried out by his thugs in Washington, giving orders to New York. All these people went to Washington. It was all one big thing, including civil cases, by the way. The case was completely devoid of facts, merit, or even any crimes. Every legal analyst, all great people, I don't have to go over their names, I go over them all the time, but all of the great legal analysts said there is no case here, there is no crime, he shouldn't charge, etc. But every single one of them said that. This wasn't a legitimate indictment. This was a Joe Biden indictment to try and hurt your political opponent. And it's really reverberated because the numbers we've never had numbers better than this, and they've really gone up a lot since that fake deal was started. But since the rigged trial in New York, and think of this, the poll numbers have increased very substantially, and the fundraising has, I think, set all-time records. I mean, I think it's set all-time. And you know what? If you understand this stuff, if it hadn't, it would have gone the opposite way. If this was real stuff, it would have been the opposite. Most of the time it would be. But I have a nice platform. I was able to explain what it is. It was fake. I also got Dershowitz. You take a look at Dershowitz and Mark Levin, all great people. Andrew McCarthy, Greg Jarrett, all great people. Jonathan Turley, all fantastic. Do you think Biden could remember 5, 6, 7 names? I don't think so. I don't think so. And honestly, many others. And they all came out and they said, this is a terrible thing that's happening to our country, et cetera, et cetera. And people read, and that's when the numbers quadrupled. Everything quadrupled. The poll numbers were great. The fundraising numbers went up at levels that nobody's ever seen before because they know it's all fake stuff. It's a Biden indictment. indictments. These are Biden indictments. He did it to hurt his political opponent because he's a lowlife who's the dumbest president we've ever had, in addition to... The Democrats rigged election in 2020, and we're not going to let them rig the presidential election in 2024. And every time, we're not going to let them do it. By the way, if we win Wisconsin, now you know Biden, you know what Biden would say? He'd say, if we win Iowa, oh, sir, you're in Wisconsin. Oh. But I have to be careful because when I do that stuff, they'll sometimes put it on like I was saying it. So when I imitate him, because he can't find his way off a stage ever. There's only 4 or 5 stairs on this one. Sometimes I have like 7 stairs. Anything built by the government, we have a lot of stairs because they have unlimited money. But you know what? When I imitate him, and you've heard this a little bit, I say it every once in a while, I said to my wife, how good was that speech? Was that great? It was the greatest. I had 107,000 people show up in New Jersey 3 weeks ago. 25,000 people in the South Bronx. People weren't sure about that one. It was love. That was a love fest, South Bronx. But I called up my wife. I said, how good. Now, I had just imitated him trying to get off a stage. And, you know, there's walls around, and I walk into walls. Kidding. It's sarcasm. It's like, it's truth. I mean, he walks into stages, he falls down. I better not ever fall down because they'll say, he said, we just don't want to fall down. You have to keep yourself from falling down. You just have to be careful. But he'd walk into walls and everything. So I said to my wife, how great was it, New Jersey? 107,000 people, nobody could have ever in history, nobody could have gotten 107,000 people. There's never been a politician, Vivek. You're just peanuts by comparison, Vivek. You don't know it. He hasn't learned his lesson yet. He has not learned his lesson yet. But he's a good man. He's going to be with us in some form. He hasn't learned. But I said to my wife, Vivek, I said, our great First Lady, she's our great, people like our First Lady. So I said, honey, I'll tell you, it was unbelievable. How good was it? It was unbelievable. The crowd, nobody's ever seen a crowd. That broke every record in New Jersey history. Nobody's ever seen 100, and I don't have a guitar. Don't forget, Elvis had a guitar. I don't have a guitar. I have nothing. I stand up here by myself. Terrible. But all these people, I said, how great? Tell me how great. She said, well, it was okay. I said, what do you mean okay? It was phenomenal. No, but your hair didn't look good. And then she said, the killer of all killers. She said, and what happened? You couldn't find your way off the stage. They showed you walking into walls. So the fake news had me walking into walls when I was just imitating Biden because he walks into walls. I don't know. You got to live with it. You got to live with it. That's why we call them the fake. That's why we call them the fake news. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. Remember, I got indicted more than Alphonse Capone. Al Capone was the meanest. Scarface. He was the meanest ever, the worst. Oh, he was right down the road, actually, Chicago. He controlled Chicago with an iron fist. If he went out to dinner with a person, didn't like him, they were gone by the next morning, never found again. You know, they're usually a part of the foundation of a building going up, right? I got indicted more than Al Capone, all because I ran for office. If I didn't run for office, I'd be enjoying life. But you know what? I enjoy this better because we're going to make America great again. That's what I like. That's what I like. Very simple. And I'm being indicted for you. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never, ever let them take away your freedom. That's why I'm here. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me. Quite simply put, I am just standing in their way. I'm standing in their way, and they're not. I'm not moving. I'm not moving. My life could have been so simple. I could have had 200 lawyers less. My life could have been so simple. I would have had a beautiful life, but this is a beautiful life. This is far more beautiful. I mean, what's better? Being with you right now. Look at that beautiful lake. That beautiful lake. Beautiful, right? What's better, this or sitting on the Pacific or the Atlantic, which has sharks? You don't have sharks. See, that's a big advantage. I'll take the one without the sharks. We're pleased to be joined today by many incredible patriots, including the man who is going to help Wisconsin reverse every single Biden disaster, your next U.S. Senator, and this guy is central casting, Eric Hovde. Eric, stand up, Eric. Come on up, Eric. Eric has had an outstanding career in business, a real success, and now he's going to get things done. Eric will vote to crack down on illegal immigration, end Joe Biden's border disaster, support our police, and turn back the wave of violent crime. He will help us rapidly halt Biden inflation and unleash energy, the likes of which you have never seen. But most importantly, Eric will defeat your radical left senator, the worst senator in the U.S. Senate, they say. She's the worst senator. She's rated, I think, the lowest, the worst. There's a bad one. You got a bad one in Ohio, too. I think he's going to be defeated, Brown. But Tammy Baldwin voted for every single inflation-causing Biden spending bill. 100% voted with Biden. And Biden doesn't represent you. $11 trillion worth of votes that have caused massive inflation. She wants to help Biden impose the largest tax hike in American history. For 4 straight years, she's cast a vote. And remember, every single time she voted for crooked Joe Biden, she voted in favor of sanctuary cities. She voted to cancel my emergency declaration on the border to stop people from coming in. Thank you very much, Tammy. I appreciate it. And she opposed a little thing called Remain in Mexico that I did anyway. She opposed it. I did it anyway. And Baldwin supports Joe Biden's effort to undermine our police officers in the middle of the worst crime wave in modern history. She wants to not take care of our police. Tammy Baldwin is a radical left Democrat extremist. She's a horrible, horrible senator. I mean, is this central? Wife looks even better. Pretty good. But he's going to secure our borders and stop inflation. He's going to, again, we win Wisconsin and we win the whole thing. We win the whole thing. So we got to win. Eric, say hello.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. And we do have a gorgeous state. Look at how beautiful Wisconsin is. Now, the president and I are both business guys. In fact, I'm in the development business. That development project over there I'm developing right now, 220 units, revitalizing Racine. But in the world of business, results matter. And in business, you either get it done or you don't get it done. So let's take a quick look. President Trump, inflation averaged about 1.7%. Almost nothing. Joe Biden, 6%, and I agree with President Trump, the prices have gone up more than 20%. Are you kidding me? They're fudging the numbers. How about your incomes? Do you know your incomes grew under President Trump at a faster rate than any time in American history? 7.7%. Under Joe Biden, sadly, your wages have declined by 2.9%. We've never had that in 3 years. They're crushing the middle class. They're crushing the working class. And how about the border? President Trump showed you the numbers. The numbers are clear. He had the border completely under control. Joe Biden, first year, over 3 million. Second year, over 3 million. Third year, they don't even know. I mean, we may have 16 million illegal immigrants. Our streets are being flooded with fentanyl. And by the way, Mr. President, I know you're going to take care of this. They can't account for 100,000 children. And sadly, too many of those kids have probably ended up in the sex trade. So the results are clear. This president, no wars. Joe Biden, the world's awash in conflict. So the results speak for themselves. And Tammy Baldwin has voted with Joe Biden 95.5% of the time. Now I got to ask you, Mr. President, you have a lovely, gorgeous wife. I got married. I'm lucky with a beautiful wife. We've been great relationship. But I can tell you, I don't agree with her 95.5% of the time. And I sure the heck know she doesn't agree with me 95.5% of the time. So how could Tammy Baldwin agree with Joe Biden 95.5% of the time? She's been a disaster. She's talking about fentanyl. She's done nothing on fentanyl. She has voted for open borders. She has voted for all the debt. Everything she has done wrong. So I'm going to get off the stage now turn it back to President Trump. But President Trump raised the apprentice. And this time around, Mr. President, you and I are going to work hard to take back this country, because this country is going to be saved right here in Wisconsin. And it's all of you and you that are going to fire Joe Biden and Tammy Baldwin. Let's take back America, make America great, and restore the American dream. Thank you.
Beautiful, Joe. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much, Eric. Great job. Go out and vote. You're getting a dynamo. You need that. That's what you need. You need that in Washington. We're also pleased to be joined by former Governor Scott Walker. Scott, great governor, a great governor. You're coming with us, Scott. You're coming with us. Thank you very much. And a friend of mine for a long time, another great one. This was a great one. I don't know. I've heard he's like the most popular person in your whole state. Although Scott's right there, too. Tommy Thompson. Tommy Thompson. Tommy, thank you. And Tommy, I hear you're heading up the Trump campaign in Wisconsin, right? Right? All right, we're all done with that, Tommy. I like that. Tommy's heading it up. How the hell, can I do better? I don't think so, right? Thank you, Tommy. We appreciate it very much. Scott, thank you very much. House Republican leader, Steve Scalise. Very brave guy. Steve. Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. And members of Congress, a real warrior, Derek Van Orden. He cannot take no for an answer. Thank you very much. Thank you, Eric. Thanks, Derek. That's great. Brian Stile took the place of somebody that wasn't nearly as good as him. Doing a much better job than his predecessor. Thank you very much. That's great. And he's working on all sorts of J6 scams and hustles and what's happened. And he's in charge of the committee. And I hear you're doing a fantastic job. And you're going to make sure that we have an honest election in the great state of Wisconsin, right? This area. Thank you very much. Great job. Appreciate it. Another friend of mine, Glenn Grothman. Glenn, thank you very much. And we all know he's here because I heard he made a great speech before, and people really like him. He came sort of, nobody knew him too much. All of a sudden they say, he's a smart guy, and he's a very smart guy. Vivek Ramaswamy. Thank you, Vivek. He's done a great job, actually. Wisconsin GOP Chairman Brian Schemming. Thank you, Brian. Very important guy. We're gonna win it. We're gonna win it. We gotta win it. Thank you, Brian. And the next candidate from Wisconsin's 8th Congressional District, Tony Weed. Tony, thank you. Great. Oh, another central casting guy. Wow. They have good-looking people in this state, don't they, huh? Wow. That's great. Good. Thank you, Tony, very much. You're going to do great. From the very first day that we take back the White House from crooked Joe Biden, I believe we are going to have the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we win, it's about us. Afterwards, I will have between rain settled of them. It had never happened. All those people dead, all those cities destroyed. You can never rebuild them. Never rebuild them like they were. Beautiful, 1,000-year-old buildings with the gold domes. You can never rebuild that, but what a shame. And one thing I'll do that nobody else can say, they can not even talk, I know all the players, I will prevent a thing called World War III. And you are closer to it. You are closer to it than you have any idea. Biden's weakness has put us in grave danger. I will restore peace through strength. You know, again, Russia didn't take any land while Trump was president, but they did take land under Bush. They did take land under Obama. Looks like they're taking the whole country from Biden with all the money that we spend. You could have settled that deal over a couple of phone calls, frankly, and you wouldn't have anybody dead, and you'd have the country would be intact. It would be intact, but he couldn't do that. And the way he talked, I used to say, boy, he's saying the exact opposite thing that you have to say to get that thing ended. What a horrible, horrible president he's been. In my next term, we will build a great iron dome over our country, a dome like has never seen before, a state-of-the-art missile defense shield that will be entirely built in America, and we will create, on top of everything else, jobs, jobs, jobs. And we need protection, too. We're going to build the greatest dome of them all. You see what happened in Israel. They shot 3,000 missiles, and they knocked down almost all of them. And we're entitled to that also, you know, and it was our idea, by the way. And Ronald Reagan wanted to do it many years ago, but unfortunately then it sounded like Star Wars. He was ahead of his time, actually. But we didn't have the technology that you have now. Now we have the greatest technology there is. And we're going to build a dome, a safety shield over the top of us so that if we see something coming in 5 years from now, I'll be talking a little bit differently, maybe. We'll see something coming. I say, don't worry, the dome's going to take care of it. The dome, don't worry about it. The dome will take care of it. But we should have that. You know, we should be entitled to that, don't you think, with all the hostility out there? I think so. All made in the USA, including right here. To further secure America's future and create opportunity for young people, I will end Joe Biden's war on crypto. We will ensure that the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin will be made in America. Otherwise, other countries are going to have it. The other countries are going to have it. We're going to rebuild our cities, become beacons of hope, safety, and beauty, better than they have ever been before. Right now, they're death and squalor, and they're falling apart. We're going to rebuild our cities. We will take over the horribly run capital of our nation in Washington, D.C., and clean up, renovate, and rebuild our capital city so that it no longer is a nightmare of murder and crime. People go there from Wisconsin. I want to see the Washington Monument, and they end up getting shot. They end up getting killed. It's a horrible thing taking place in the Capitol. We're going to take it over. It's going to be run properly. It's going to be beautified. It's going to be cleaned. I went there the other day for one of these trials, you know, these trials that keep me busy so much. You know, I'm only allowed to campaign about 20% of the time because I have all these Biden trials. But so far, it's not working. We can never let that work. We can't let them get away with it. But I went there, and the roads were so badly damaged. There were potholes all over the place. There was trash all over the main highways, trash, garbage. You're driving over garbage. The medians in the middle, you know, the metal medians were all broken and rusted and disgusting. That's no way to have a capital. Can you imagine these foreign leaders come in, and generally their capitals are in good shape, you know? They're dictators. They say that we don't want broken medias. We don't want potholes in our roads. We want to have them nice. I went to China. You never saw anything like that. A road 10 cars wide times 2. medians that were impeccable. They're probably 100 years old. They were made out of steel. They were painted. They were impeccable. All this stuff. We got to have the same thing. We got to have it. We have to have it done properly. Our nation's capital is the murder capital of the world. Our nation's capital is falling apart. Graffiti all over the beautiful marbles and granites. Graffiti all over the place. We're going to clean up our capital. We're going to be proud of our capital. We're going to take care of our capital. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding of any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children. And I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And I will keep, who even thinks you have to say this stuff, you know, like open borders. Who wants an open border? Nobody wants to know. Who has open borders? But some of these things, it's embarrassing to say. I will keep men out of women's sports. It's embarrassing. Why would you have to say that? You know, you go back 10, 15 years ago, somebody would say, did he just say he was going to keep, what's that all about? The women are being, it's so disrespectful for women. The other day, a woman playing volleyball got hit by a ball, hit by somebody who transitioned, a large person, very large, and the ball came at her at a level that at a speed at which she's never seen before. It hit her, and it had bad impact. Bad things happened, bad things. And that's happened before. The swimming is ridiculous. The weightlifting is probably the most ridiculous. Weightlifting records that stood for 18 years are being obliterated by hundreds of pounds, by people that transitioned. I don't think it's, we're going to get rid of that immediately. I will fully uphold the Second Amendment. We will protect innocent life, and we will restore free speech. And I will secure our elections with a goal to have one-day voting, paper ballots, proof of citizenship, and voter ID. But until then, Republicans must win. We want a landslide, and the expression I use, where you just can't lose, is we got to make it too big to rig. Too big to rig. Because they're dishonest people. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration of thugs has done. What they've done to our country is incredible. What they've done, and you haven't even seen it yet. You haven't seen the terrorists yet. You haven't seen the killing yet that's starting to take place. Again, it takes them a little time. They want to get accustomed to the country. They're not going to start from day one because they don't know. Then they see our laws, which are so weakened and so pathetic, and they probably can't believe them. But you're going to see things that will be horrible unless you elect me president, in which case we're going to get them the hell out of here. We're going to get them out fast. So if you want to save America, I'm asking everybody to go out to the website, swampthevoteusa.com. Swamp the vote, right? The swamp. This is a different kind of swamp than we usually use. Swamp. We got rid of a lot of the swamp, Comey and all those guys. We got rid of them. Swampthevoteusa.com to make a plan to vote either by mail, early in person, or to vote on Election Day. You have to vote. And watch your vote. Watch your vote. Because they tend to disappear. Watch your vote. Make sure it's counted. And you can do that. Make sure it's counted. You have great people. Again, Tommy is going to be totally involved. And you have two great governors that are going to be involved. And we appreciate it very much. Two great governors. We got to win it. We win it. We win the whole thing. Then we see you guys in Washington. We'll see you in Washington. And if you want to volunteer to help us turn out the voters in your neighborhood, sign up and get trained at TrumpForce47.com. TrumpForce47.com. Go out because we want to watch it. You want to watch for the cheating. I say guard the vote. I say guarding the vote is far more important. We have all the votes we need. We have to guard the vote. We have to stop the steal. If we stop the steal, we win. I don't have to campaign anymore. Just stop the steal. So Scott and Tommy, do a job out there, okay? You'll do it. In conclusion, From Madison to Milwaukee, from La Crosse to Kenosha, I love Kenosha. And from Green Bay to right here in Racine, we inherit the legacy of Wisconsin patriots who braved the incredible dangers to carve out a life in a vast and wild frontier. We stand on the shoulders of the American giants who crossed the oceans, explored the continent, settled the Great Plains, won the Wild West, laid down the railroads, raised up those great, big, beautiful skyscrapers. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Conquered the skies, fought 2 world wars and won, and we didn't have to change the name of the forts, by the way. Does anybody know what I mean by that? Fort Bragg is no longer Fort Bragg. We won 2 world wars. So many of the forts are changed. The names of the forts have changed. We won freedom from those forts, and they changed the name. So horrible. Defeated fascism and communism, mastered space flight, created Space Force. That was mine. First time in 78 years. And made America into the single greatest nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in serious decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, lost its willpower, and lost its strength. We are a nation that has lost, quite simply, its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue. Less than 4 years ago, we were a great nation. We were a respected nation, respected all over the world by China, by Russia, by everybody. And we will soon be a great nation again. With the right leadership, every disaster Joe Biden has created can be fixed, and it can be fixed quickly. Every problem can be solved, and every wrong can be rectified. By this time next year, America's borders will be strong and sealed and secure. Inflation will be in full retreat. Our economy will be roaring back. Optimism and spirit will be surging. The American dream will be thriving again for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. Law and justice will reign all throughout our land. Freedom will be restored. The flame of liberty will be burning bright. Joe Biden, this guy is just the worst. Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country, will be a fading nightmare. He'll be a fading, I have fading memory, but I think, do you mind if I change it? He will be a fading nightmare. He's been a nightmare for this country. He is destroying our country. He's the worst we've ever had. He's destroying our country. And our great silent majority, including the once forgotten men and women of our country, will be the one shaping America's magnificent future when I am the 47th President of the United States of America. Because we are all Americans, and together we will show November 5th to be the most important day in the history of America. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. We will make America free again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Wisconsin. Thank you. God bless you, Wisconsin. God bless you, Wisconsin. Thank you. Get out and vote. Get out and vote, everybody. God bless you all.